Captain Hyun-woo Kim stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable, watching the stars through the massive view screen. The ship was quiet, except for the soft hum of the engines and the occasional beep from the control panels. His crew worked at their stations, checking systems and monitoring space around them. "Captain," called out Lieutenant Commander Da-Eun Lee from her position at the tactical station. "Long-range sensors are picking up something unusual." Hyun-woo walked over to her station. The screen showed dozens of red dots moving toward human space. Each dot represented a ship, and there were many of them. Too many. "How many ships are we looking at?" he asked. Da-Eun's fingers moved quickly over her controls. "At least 500 ships, sir. Maybe more. They're coming from 12 different directions." The bridge became very quiet. Everyone knew what this meant. For months, there had been rumors that the alien species in the galaxy were planning something against humanity. It looked like those rumors were true. "Send a message to Admiral Park immediately," Hyun-woo ordered. "Tell her we have a situation." Within minutes, Admiral Sojin Park's face appeared on the main screen. She was on Earth, in the command center of the Terran Solar Defense Command. Behind her, Hyun-woo could see other officers working at computers and talking quickly into their headsets. "Report, Captain Kim," Admiral Park said. Her voice was calm, but Hyun-woo could see the worry in her eyes. "Admiral, we're detecting a massive alien fleet moving toward our territory. Multiple species, coordinated movement. This isn't a patrol or a trade mission." Admiral Park nodded slowly. "We've been expecting this. How long until they reach our outer colonies?" Da-Eun spoke up from her station. "Based on their current speed, approximately 72 hours, Admiral." "Understood. Captain Kim, return to Earth immediately. We're calling all ships home." The transmission ended, and Hyun-woo turned to his crew. "You heard the Admiral. Set. Course for Earth. Maximum speed." As the Indomitable turned toward home, Hyun-woo thought about the last 2 years. Humanity had been expanding into space faster than any species before them. They built colonies on dozens of worlds and established trade routes across several star systems. Other alien species watched this growth with growing concern. The Galactic Hegemony was an alliance of 12 alien species that controlled most of the known galaxy. They had rules about how new species should behave when they joined the galactic community. Humanity had ignored most of these rules. Humans built their ships differently. While other species focused on energy shields and elegant designs, humans built thick armor and powerful weapons. Human colonies were heavily defended. Human traders carried military escorts. To the aliens, this looked aggressive and dangerous. 3 days later, the Indomitable arrived at Earth. Hyun-woo was shocked by what he saw. The space around Earth was filled with ships. Not just a few ships, but hundreds of them. Massive ships that he had never seen before. Each ship was over 1 kilometer long and covered in armor plating. They had huge weapons mounted on their hulls, and sensor arrays that looked like they could detect a single ship from light years away. These were not the destroyers and cruisers that humanity had been building for the colonies. These were warships. Real warships. "My God," whispered Da-Eun. "Where did all these ships come from?" Hyun-woo was wondering the same thing. He had been in the human fleet for 15 years, and he had never seen ships like these. They were bigger and more heavily armed than anything humanity was supposed to have. The communication system crackled to life. "UES Indomitable, this is Fleet Control. You are ordered to dock at Station 7 for immediate briefing." An hour later, Hyun-woo found himself in a large briefing room with captains from dozens of other ships. Admiral Park stood at the front. of the room next to a huge display screen showing the galaxy. "Ladies and gentlemen," Admiral Park began, "what you see outside is the result of Project Omega. For the past 5 years, humanity has been secretly building a battle fleet. We hoped we would never need to use it." The screen changed to show technical drawings of the massive ships they had seen outside. The specifications were incredible. Fusion plasma hybrid weapons, adaptive armor systems, and shielding that could absorb incredible amounts of damage. Each of these ships carries a crew of 800 and has enough firepower to destroy a small moon, Admiral Park continued. "We have 200 of them." Captain Jin Ho Choi, who commanded one of the new battleships, stood up. "Admiral, why the secrecy? Why didn't we know about this?" "Because we hoped diplomacy would work," Admiral Park replied. "We tried to follow galactic law and be good neighbors. But the galactic hegemony has decided that humanity is too dangerous to be allowed to continue expanding." The screen changed again, showing a recorded message. An alien with blue skin and 4 arms appeared. This was Diplomat Veltar, representing the galactic hegemony. "People of Earth," the alien said, "your species has shown dangerous tendencies. Your rapid expansion, your heavily armed ships, and your refusal to follow proper galactic protocols mark you as a threat to galactic peace. You have 72 hours to withdraw all human presence from space beyond your solar system. Your colonies will be occupied by hegemony forces to ensure they are properly managed. If you refuse, we will be forced to take action to protect the galaxy from your aggression." The message ended, and the room was silent. Finally, Captain Hyun-woo spoke up. "What's our response, Admiral?" Admiral Park smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. "We're going to show them what human aggression really looks like." She pressed a button on her control panel, and the screen showed the space around Earth again. But now, more ships were appearing. They seemed to come from nowhere, uncloaking or emerging from hidden bases throughout the solar system. The hegemony thinks, "We're just another primitive species with a few crude weapons," Admiral Park said. "They're about to learn they made a terrible mistake." Commander Da-Yun Lee, who had been quiet during the briefing, finally spoke. "Admiral, are we really going to fight the entire galaxy?" "No, Commander," Admiral Park replied. "We're going to beat them so badly that the rest of the galaxy will think twice before threatening humanity again." Outside the station, the Earth fleet continued to grow. Each ship was a fortress, built by humans who understood that sometimes the only way to ensure peace was to be stronger than anyone who might threaten it. The crews of these ships were volunteers, people who believed that humanity deserved its place among the stars. The galactic hegemony had given humanity 72 hours to surrender. They thought this would be enough time for the humans to realize. They were outnumbered and outgunned. They expected fear and submission. Instead, humanity was preparing for war. A war that would shake the galaxy and create legends that would be told for centuries to come. Admiral Park looked out at her fleet and thought about the message she would send to the hegemony. It would be simple and direct, in the way that humans preferred to communicate. Humanity would not be withdrawing from space. Humanity would not be surrendering its colonies. And if the galactic hegemony wanted a fight, humanity was ready to give them one they would never forget. The countdown had begun, and the galaxy was about to discover what happened when you threatened Earth. The emergency session of the Terran Council lasted only 30 minutes. Representatives from every human colony and space station participated through secure communication links. When Admiral Park finished explaining the situation, the vote was swift and unanimous. Humanity would not surrender. Dr. Elena Martinez, the president of the Terran Council, stood before the cameras that would broadcast her message across human space. Today, an alien alliance has demanded that we abandon our homes and surrender our freedom. They believe we will submit because they have more ships than us. They are wrong. On the bridge of the UES Retribution, Captain Jin-Ho Choi watched the president's speech with his senior officers. The Retribution was one of the new battleships, fresh from the secret shipyards of Luna. Its bridge was different from older human ships. Everything was built for war. They think they know what human ships can do, Captain Choi said to his crew. They've seen our destroyers and cruisers. They have no idea what we've really built. Commander Mi-Young-Han, the ship's chief engineer, pulled up technical displays on the main screen. Captain, should I explain the weapon systems to the crew? Do it! Captain Choi nodded. They deserve to know what they're fighting with. Mi-Young began her presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, the Retribution is armed with 12 rail cannon turrets. Each turret fires metal slugs at 30% of light speed. When these slugs hit an enemy ship, they don't just make holes. They go completely through the ship and hit whatever is behind it. She changed the display to show the plasma torpedo systems. We also carry fusion plasma hybrid torpedoes. These weapons create small suns when they explode. The energy release can destroy multiple ships if they're close together. The crew listened carefully. Most of them had served on smaller ships before and had never seen weapons like these. Our armor is different too, Mi-Young continued. Other species use energy shields that can be overloaded. We use layered metal armor that gets stronger when it's hit. Our ships are built to take damage and keep fighting. In space near Jupiter, alien spy Veltar watched the human fleet through a cloaked observation ship. Veltar belonged to the Jakti species, an insect-like race that served the galactic hegemony as intelligence gatherers. What Veltar saw made no sense. Human ships were huge, much bigger than any warship Veltar had seen before. They had thick armor instead of energy shields. Their weapons were primitive kinetic launchers instead of sophisticated energy beams. By all galactic standards, these ships should be easy to defeat, but something was wrong. The way the humans moved their ships, the way they arranged their formations, the calm confidence of their communications, none of it matched what Veltar expected from a species about to be destroyed. Veltar sent an encrypted message to the hegemony command ship. The humans are not responding as predicted. Their ships are larger than intelligence reports indicated. Recommend caution in initial engagement. The response came back quickly. Intelligence reports are accurate. Human technology is primitive. Proceed with plan. Hegemony forces will demonstrate superior firepower and force immediate surrender. Back on Earth, Admiral Park stood in the command center surrounded by screens showing the positions of ships throughout the solar system. Her staff worked quietly at their stations, coordinating the movement of the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled. "Admiral," called out Lieutenant Colonel Sang-Ho Kim from the communications station. "We're receiving surrender demands from 17 different alien species. They want us to respond individually to each one." Admiral Park shook her head. "They're trying to divide us, make us negotiate separately. Send the same response to all of them." She walked to the main communication panel and activated the galaxy-wide broadcast system. Her message would be transmitted to every ship and every colony in known space. "This is Admiral So-Jin Park of the Terran Solar Defense Command. The galactic hegemony has demanded that humanity abandon its colonies and submit to alien rule. Our response is simple: no." She paused, looking directly into the camera. Humanity has done nothing wrong. We have built homes on empty worlds. We have traded fairly with those who wish to trade. We have defended ourselves when attacked. If the Galactic hegemony considers this aggression, then they will learn what real aggression looks like. The message ended, and Admiral Park turned to her staff. Signal all ships. Activate combat protocols. This is no longer a diplomatic situation. Throughout the solar system, human battleships received the order. On each ship, captains addressed their crews. The message was the same everywhere. Humanity would not surrender, and they were ready to fight. Captain Hyun-woo Kim gathered his senior officers in the briefing room of the Indomitable. "We all knew this day might come," he said. "For years, we've watched the aliens look at us with suspicion and fear. They see our strength and think it makes us dangerous. They're right. We are dangerous. We're dangerous to anyone who threatens our people." Commander Da-Un Lee studied the tactical displays. "Captain, the alien fleet is massive. Even with our new battleships, we're outnumbered 50-1. "Numbers don't win wars," Captain Kim replied. "Will and determination win wars. The aliens think they're fighting for galactic peace. We're fighting for our homes, our families, and our future. That makes all the difference." On the secret military research station orbiting Saturn, Dr. Park Jae-sung made final adjustments to humanity's newest weapon systems. The rail cannons had been tested against asteroid targets, and the results were beyond expectations. The plasma torpedoes had been calibrated for maximum effect against energy shields. But the real advantage wasn't in the weapons. It was in how humans thought about war. Other species tried to minimize damage and achieve quick, clean victories. Humans understood that war was ugly and brutal, and they prepared for it accordingly. Their ships were designed to keep fighting, even when heavily damaged. Their crews were trained to repair systems under fire. Their tactics focused on overwhelming firepower delivered at close range. Everything about human warfare was designed to shock and terrify an enemy that expected civilized combat. The deadline given by the galactic hegemony was approaching. In 18 hours, the alien fleet would reach the edge of human space and expect to find a surrendering species ready to negotiate. Instead, they would find 200 battleships crewed by 8,000 of humanity's best warriors. They would find a species that had spent 5 years preparing for this moment. They would find humans doing what humans did best, refusing to give up. Admiral Park looked out at her fleet one more time before the battle began. Each ship represented years of work, billions of credits, and the hopes of an entire species. But more than that, each ship carried a crew of volunteers who believed that some things were worth fighting for. The galactic hegemony was about to learn that threatening humanity's future was a mistake they would regret for generations to come. Captain Taemin Jung stood alone on the bridge of the UES Defiant, watching 3 alien fleets surround his ship. Each fleet had more than 500 vessels. The Defiant was just one ship, positioned near Proxima Station at the edge of human space. "Captain," called Navigation Officer Yoon Ji-yoon from her station, "all 3 fleets are moving into attack formation. They're demanding our immediate surrender." Captain Jung nodded calmly. The Defiant was here by choice. Admiral Park had asked for volunteers to make the first stand, to show the galaxy what humanity was capable of. Captain Jung and his crew had volunteered immediately. "Open a channel to all alien ships," he ordered. The communication system activated, broadcasting on all frequencies. Captain Young's voice would be heard by every alien ship in the area and by intelligence services throughout the galaxy. "This is Captain Taemin Jung of the United Earth ship Defiant. You have entered human space with hostile intent. You demand our surrender. My response is simple. This is humanity. We do not yield. He cut the transmission and turned to his crew. Battle. Stations. Show them what a human warship can do. The Defiant was smaller than the new battleships defending Earth, but it was still a formidable vessel. Its armor was thick, its weapons were powerful, and its crew was trained for exactly this situation. Most importantly, it was built according to human military philosophy: survive, fight, and win. The alien commander of the nearest fleet was Thexmul of the Sectar Empire. Thexmul had fought in dozens of battles and conquered 17 different species. In his experience, when a single ship faced overwhelming odds, it surrendered quickly to avoid pointless destruction. The human response puzzled him. One ship against 1,500 ships should result in immediate surrender. Instead, the humans seemed eager to fight. Perhaps they do not understand the situation, Thexmul said to his tactical officer. Open fire with minimal weapons. Damage their engines, but do not destroy them. Once they see they cannot escape, they will surrender. The alien ships opened fire with energy beams designed to disable rather than destroy. The beams struck the Defiant's armor and created bright flashes of light. When the light faded, the human ship was still there, completely undamaged. On the Defiant's bridge, Commander Dabin Park monitored the damage reports. Captain, their energy weapons are having minimal effect. Our armor is absorbing most of the energy. Captain Young smiled. They're used to fighting ships with energy shields. They don't know how to fight ships with real armor. Return fire. Show them how humans fight. The Defiant's rail cannons opened fire. Unlike the precise energy beams used by the aliens, the human weapons fired solid metal slugs at incredible speed. When the first volley hit the alien ships, the results were devastating. The metal slugs punched through the alien energy shields like they weren't there. They tore through the alien ships' hulls, destroying everything in their path. 3 alien ships exploded immediately. 2 more lost power and began drifting helplessly. Impossible, whispered Thexmul. No kinetic weapon should penetrate our shields that easily. His tactical officer checked the readings. Commander, their projectiles are moving at 30% of light speed. At that velocity, our shields cannot stop them. The battle continued, and it quickly became clear that the aliens had made a terrible mistake. Their ships were designed to fight other aliens who used energy weapons and followed galactic combat conventions. They were not prepared for humans who fired solid metal at relativistic speeds. The Defiant moved through the alien formation like a predator among prey. Its rail cannons destroyed ship after ship. When groups of alien vessels clustered together, the Defiant fired plasma torpedoes that created chain reactions, destroying multiple ships at once. But the aliens had numbers on their side. Hundreds of ships concentrated their fire on the Defiant. Energy beams, plasma bolts, and quantum torpedoes struck the human ship from all directions. Hull breach on Deck 7, reported Engineering Officer Min-Ho Lee. Sections 12 through 15 are venting atmosphere. Seal the breach and reroute power, Captain Jung ordered. We're not finished yet. This was where human ship design showed its true superiority. While alien ships relied on avoiding damage through shields and maneuverability, human ships were built to take damage and keep fighting. Automated systems sealed hull breaches. Backup systems activated when primary systems failed. Redundant armor layers provided protection even when outer layers were destroyed. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it was over, more than 200 alien ships had been destroyed. The survivors retreated, broadcasting emergency signals and calling for reinforcements. The Defiant was heavily damaged but still operational. Its armor was scarred and blackened. Several weapon turrets had been destroyed. But the ship was alive, and its crew was ready to keep fighting. "Damage report," Captain Jung requested. Engineering Officer Lee consulted his displays. "Captain, we've lost 30% of our armor. 4 rail cannon turrets are offline. Life support is functioning at 60% efficiency. But all critical systems are operational." Navigation Officer Yoon looked up from her station. "Captain, long-range sensors are detecting more alien fleets moving toward our position. It looks like they're bringing everything they have, Captain." Jung nodded. "Send a message to Admiral Park. Tell her the first test is complete. Human ships can fight. Human crews will not surrender. And the galaxy now knows what happens when you threaten humanity." The news of the Battle of Proxima Station spread across the galaxy faster than light-speed communication could carry it. On 1,000 different worlds, in a dozen different languages, the same story was told. A single human ship had destroyed 200 alien vessels and survived. The Galactic Hegemony had expected an easy victory that would demonstrate their superiority and force human surrender. Instead, they had suffered a humiliating defeat that raised questions about their military capabilities. More importantly, the battle had shown that human technology was not primitive. Human tactics were not crude. Human determination was not just stubborn pride. Humanity was a military force, unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. In the command centers of alien governments, military leaders studied the battle recordings and tried to understand what had gone wrong. The humans had used simple kinetic, weapons, basic armor, and straightforward tactics. None of it should have been effective against modern galactic military technology, but it had worked. It had worked so well that experienced alien commanders were requesting reassignment rather than face human ships in battle. The Jakti spy Veltar sent another report to Hegemony Command. This report was different from the earlier ones. This report contained a warning. "The humans are not what we thought they were," Veltar wrote. "They do not fight like civilized species. They do not follow galactic combat conventions. They build their ships not to avoid damage, but to endure it and continue fighting. They are dangerous in ways we did not anticipate." The response from Hegemony Command was predictable. "Continue observations. Proxima Station was an isolated incident. Human luck will not hold against the full might of the galactic hegemony. But in the quiet moments between official reports, alien military commanders began to worry. If one human ship could do this much damage, what could 200 human battleships do? They were about to find out. Admiral Sojin Park studied the holographic display in her command center. Red dots showed galactic hegemony fleets moving throughout the galaxy, gathering for what they believed would be the final assault on humanity. Blue dots showed human positions. Not just the main battle fleet around Earth, but smaller groups scattered across dozens of star systems. "The hegemony is making a mistake," Admiral Park said to her staff. "They're concentrating their forces for one big battle. That gives us opportunities." Captain Min Seo Kang received her orders while the UES Vengeance was docked at a hidden supply depot near the Vega system. She commanded Wolfpack 7, a group of 8 human battleships tasked with disrupting enemy operations behind the lines. "Ladies and gentlemen," Captain Kang addressed her Wolfpack commanders through secure communication, "the hegemony thinks they're fighting a defensive war. They're wrong. We're going hunting." Lieutenant Commander Jun-Seok Park, captain of the UES Predator, nodded on his screen. "What's our first target, Captain Kang?" Intelligence reports a major hegemony supply convoy moving through the Altair system. Captain Kang replied. 50 cargo ships carrying weapons and equipment for their main fleet. The convoy has an escort of 120 warships. The other Wolfpack commanders examined the tactical data. By traditional military thinking, 8 ships attacking more than 100 ships was suicide. But human military thinking was different. We hit them in the asteroid field near Altair 4, Captain Kang continued. The asteroids will disrupt their sensors and limit their maneuverability. We use the environment against them. Captain So Young Kim of the UES Hunter asked, "What about their escort ships?" "We ignore most of them," Captain Kang said. "We target the cargo ships first, then break contact before they can organize a proper response. We're not trying to win a stand-up fight. We're trying to cripple their logistics." This was pure human tactical doctrine. Other species fought for territory or honor. Humans fought to win, and they understood that wars were won by destroying the enemy's ability to fight, not just their will to fight. Wolfpack 7 reached the Altair system 18 hours before. The convoy was scheduled to arrive. They positioned themselves throughout the asteroid field, using the large rocks as cover and sensor shadows. Each ship powered down to minimal energy output, making them nearly invisible to long-range detection. When the hegemony convoy arrived, it was exactly as intelligence had predicted. 50 large cargo ships surrounded by an escort of Sector Empire warships. The convoy moved slowly through the asteroid field, following a safe navigation route that had been used for centuries. "All ships, this is Wolfpack 7 actual," Captain Kang transmitted on the tactical frequency. "Begin attack run. Target the cargo ships. Ignore the escorts unless they threaten you directly." The 8 human battleships emerged from the asteroids, like predators from an ambush. Their rail cannons opened fire simultaneously, sending hundreds of metal slugs toward the cargo ships at relativistic speeds. The results were devastating. The cargo ships had no armor and no weapons. They were designed to carry supplies, not fight battles. When the human projectiles hit them, they exploded in brilliant flashes of light and expanding debris. 20 cargo ships were destroyed in the first 30 seconds of the battle. The Sector escort ships tried to respond, but they were confused and scattered. They had been expecting pirates or raiders, not a coordinated military attack. Their formation was designed to protect against small, fast ships, not battleships emerging from asteroid cover. "This is not possible," said Commander Thexmul, who was leading the escort force. "How did 8 ships destroy half our convoy so quickly?" His tactical officer studied the readings. "Commander, these are the same weapons that were used at Proxima. Station, high-velocity kinetic projectiles. Our cargo ships cannot survive hits from these weapons." Wolfpack 7 continued its attack, moving through the convoy like a school of sharks. The human ships used the asteroids for cover, appearing long enough to fire their weapons before disappearing again. The Sector warships couldn't get a clear shot at targets that appeared and vanished so quickly. Captain Kang watched her tactical display as more cargo ships exploded. "Jun Seok, take your group and hit the ships on the far side of the convoy. So Young, your group targets the center. We keep them guessing where the next attack will come from." The Sector ships tried to form a defensive formation, but the humans refused to fight the kind of battle the aliens expected. Instead of engaging in ship-to-ship combat, the human battleships focused entirely on destroying cargo ships and avoiding prolonged engagements with the escorts. In 15 minutes, the entire convoy was destroyed. 50 cargo ships had been reduced to expanding clouds of debris. The surviving escort ships found themselves alone in space, surrounded by the wreckage of the ships they had failed to protect. "All ships withdraw," Captain Kang ordered. "Mission accomplished." The human battleships disappeared back into the asteroid field, leaving the sector escorts to report their failure to Hegemony Command. This pattern repeated across the galaxy. Human wolf packs struck supply convoys, communication relays, and isolated hegemony outposts. They appeared without warning, destroyed their targets with overwhelming firepower, and vanished before enemy reinforcements could arrive. The psychological effect was immediate and severe. Hegemony supply ships began demanding larger escorts. Some convoys refused to travel through areas where human raids had occurred. Alien commanders started reporting equipment shortages as their logistics network collapsed under constant attack. On the bridge of the Hegemony flagship, Supreme Commander Zith Ara of the Jakti Collective studied the latest reports. In 3 weeks, human raids had destroyed more than 500 hegemony supply ships and damaged dozens of military installations. "These humans fight like nothing we have encountered before," Zithara said to her staff. "They do not seek to hold territory. They do not try to negotiate. They simply destroy everything that supports our war effort." Intelligence Officer Veltar stepped forward. "Supreme Commander, our analysis suggests the humans are following a military doctrine focused on asymmetric warfare. They use their superior firepower and mobility to attack our weaknesses while avoiding our strengths." "What do you recommend?" Zithara asked. "We must accelerate our timeline," Veltar replied. "The longer we delay our main attack, the more damage these raids will do to our operational capability. We should strike at Earth immediately before they can further degrade our logistics." Meanwhile, Captain Minseo Kang was planning her next operation. Wolfpack 7 had destroyed 12 convoys and 3 supply depots without losing a single ship. But intelligence reported that the hegemony was adapting, sending larger escorts and changing their routes. "They're learning," Captain Kang said to her commanders during their daily briefing. "But they're learning the wrong lessons. They think bigger escorts will protect them. They don't understand that we're not trying to fight their escorts." Lieutenant Commander Jun Seok Park nodded. "What's our next target?" "The hegemony is building a major staging area in the Rigel system," Captain Kang replied. "Thousands of ships gathering for their final push toward Earth. They think they're safe because they have a defensive fleet of 800 ships protecting the base." Captain So Young Kim smiled. "And we're going to prove them wrong?" "We're going to hit their fuel depot," Captain Kang said. "Destroy their ability to refuel, and those 800 ships become 800 pieces of space junk. The raid on Rigel would be Wolfpack 7's most ambitious operation yet." But Captain Kang was confident in her ships and her crews. They had learned to fight the way humans fought best, smart, ruthless, and without mercy for those who threatened humanity. The galaxy was beginning to understand that humanity didn't just have better ships and weapons. They had a different way of thinking about war itself, and that difference was making them the most feared military force in known space. Supreme Commander Zithara stood before the assembled representatives of the galactic hegemony. On the massive view screen behind her, a tactical display showed the positions of more than 10,000 ships converging on the Sol system. It was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. "The human raids have caused significant disruption to our operations," Zithara admitted to the council. "But that ends today. We have committed every available warship to this final assault. The humans cannot possibly resist such overwhelming force." Representative Koltar of the Velnari Consortium raised a crystalline appendage. Supreme Commander, our intelligence reports suggest the humans have approximately 200 ships defending their home system. Even with their superior firepower, they cannot defeat 10,000 ships. Exactly, Zithara replied. The humans have been clever with their raids and ambushes, but this battle will be fought on our terms. No asteroids to hide behind, no supply convoys to target, just ship against ship, strength against strength, and we have overwhelming strength. The hegemony fleet moved toward Earth in 3 massive formations. The plan was simple. Surround the human fleet, demand surrender, and destroy any ships that refuse to comply. The sheer number of alien ships would make resistance pointless. In the Sol system, Admiral Sojin Park watched the approaching enemy fleet through long-range sensors. Her command staff worked quietly around her, coordinating the final preparations. For humanity's greatest battle, Admiral, reported Communications Officer Yujin Kim, all human ships are in position. The defense grid is active. All stations report ready for combat. Admiral Park nodded. Around Earth, the human battle fleet had formed a defensive sphere. 200 battleships, each one a fortress capable of destroying dozens of enemy vessels. But even these powerful ships looked small compared to the massive alien armada approaching them. "Admiral," said Captain Dong-hyun Lee from his position aboard the UES Retribution, "the alien fleet is demanding our surrender. They're offering terms." "What kind of terms?" Admiral Park asked. "Complete withdrawal from all colonies beyond Earth, dismantling of our military fleet, acceptance of hegemony, oversight for all future human activities in space." Admiral Park was quiet for a moment. Around her, the command staff waited for her decision. The fate of humanity depended on what she said next. "Open a channel to the entire galaxy," she ordered. "I want every species, every government, every individual to hear this." The communication system activated. Admiral Park's image would be broadcast to billions of beings across thousands of worlds. When she spoke, her voice was calm, but carried the absolute certainty of someone who had already made up her mind. "This is Admiral Sojin Park of the Terran Solar Defense Command. The Galactic Hegemony has brought 10,000 ships to our home system and demanded our surrender. They offer us slavery in exchange for our lives." She paused, looking directly into the camera. "Our response is the same as it has always been. Humanity does not surrender. You came to our home to destroy us. You will learn why that was a mistake." The transmission ended, and Admiral Park turned to her staff. "Signal all ships. Commence Operation Iron Tide." What happened next shocked every alien observer in the system. The human defensive formation suddenly expanded as dozens of additional ships appeared. They seemed to materialize from nowhere. Hidden bases inside asteroids, cloaked stations behind moons, secret shipyards that had been invisible to alien sensors. The human fleet grew from 200 ships to 300, then 400. Hidden weapons platforms activated throughout the system. Defense satellites that had appeared to be simple communication relays revealed massive rail cannon arrays. Captain Dong-hyun Lee smiled as he watched the alien fleet's formation begin to waver. "They expected to fight 200 ships. We're about to show them what a real defense looks like." The hegemony fleet was close enough now for detailed visual observation. The alien ships were elegant and beautiful, with flowing lines and energy fields that glowed in dozens of colors. They looked like artwork rather than weapons of war. The human ships looked like exactly what they were: instruments of destruction. Angular hulls covered in armor plating, weapon turrets that could track multiple targets simultaneously. Sensor, arrays designed for maximum effectiveness rather than aesthetic appeal. "All human ships," Admiral Park broadcast. "You know what we're fighting for: our homes, our families, our future among the stars. Show them what humanity is capable of." The battle began when the first hegemony ships came within range of the human defense grid. Thousands of rail cannon slugs crossed space at relativistic speeds. The alien ships had never faced anything like it. Their energy shields, designed to deflect energy weapons and plasma bolts, were useless against solid projectiles moving at 30% of light speed. The first wave of alien ships was destroyed before they could return fire. Captain Hyun-woo Kim, now commanding the UES Indomitable from the front lines, watched as his ship's weapons tore through an entire alien squadron. "These ships are beautiful," he said to his crew, "but beauty doesn't win wars." The aliens tried to adapt. They spread their formations to minimize the damage from chain reactions. They used jamming systems to disrupt human targeting. They concentrated their fire on individual human ships, trying to overwhelm their defenses. But the humans had prepared for exactly this kind of battle. When alien fire concentrated on one ship, the human formation adjusted to provide covering fire. When alien ships tried to break through the defensive line, they found themselves surrounded by converging human battleships. The battle raged for hours. Thousands of alien ships were destroyed, their wreckage forming a growing debris field around Earth. But the aliens kept coming, wave after wave of ships determined to break through the human defenses. "Admiral," reported Tactical Officer Jae-ho Song, "we're taking heavy casualties. The UES Sovereign has lost main power. The UES Defender is reporting critical damage to her armor." Admiral Park studied the tactical display. The human fleet was holding, but barely. The aliens had the numbers to eventually overwhelm them through sheer attrition. "Signal all reserve units," she ordered. "Execute Contingency Plan Omega." Throughout the Sol system, the final human reserves revealed themselves. Ships that had been hiding in the outer planets, weapons platforms built into the surfaces of moons, even modified civilian vessels that had been secretly armed for this battle. The human fleet doubled in size again. What had started as a battle between 10,000 alien ships and 200 human ships had become a battle between 10,000 aliens and 800 humans. But more importantly, the psychological effect on the alien fleet was devastating. They had come expecting to find a small, desperate force clinging to their home world. Instead, they found a military machine that had been preparing for this moment for years. Captain Min-ho Choi of the UES Vengeance led a squadron of battleships through the alien formation like a sword through silk. His ships destroyed everything in their path, leaving burning wrecks and expanding clouds of debris. "This is impossible," transmitted Supreme Commander Zith Ara from her flagship. "Where are all these ships coming from?" Intelligence Officer Veltar checked the latest sensor readings. "Supreme Commander, our estimates of human military capability appear to have been severely incorrect. They have been hiding the true size of their fleet." On his screen, Veltar could see human ships moving through the alien formation with deadly efficiency. Each human vessel seemed to destroy 2 or 3 alien ships before moving on to the next target. The math was simple and terrifying. At this rate, the aliens would run out of ships long before the humans did. "Order general retreat," Zithara commanded. "We cannot win this battle." But retreat was easier to order than to execute. The human ships pursued the fleeing aliens, destroying ship after ship as they tried to escape. The battle that was supposed to end human resistance had become a rout that would echo throughout galactic history. When the shooting finally stopped, more than 7,000 alien ships had been destroyed. The human fleet had lost 43 vessels, but Earth remained free, and humanity remained undefeated. Admiral Park stood on the bridge of her flagship, looking out at the debris field that had once been the greatest military force in galactic history. Around her, her crew worked to coordinate rescue operations and begin repairs. "Admiral," said Communications Officer Eugene Kim, "we're receiving surrender requests from the surviving alien ships. They want to negotiate terms." Admiral Park smiled. "Tell them we'll accept their surrender. But the terms will be ours, not theirs." The galaxy had come to destroy humanity and had been destroyed instead. The legend of Earth's battleship fleet was about to spread to every corner of known space. The news of humanity's victory at Earth spread across the galaxy faster than the surviving alien ships could return home. On 1,000 worlds, military commanders studied the battle recordings with growing disbelief. The galactic hegemony's greatest fleet had been shattered by a species that was supposed to be primitive and easily defeated. Captain Haewon Shin stood on the bridge of the UES Sovereign, watching her damage control teams work to repair the ship's critical systems. The Sovereign had taken the worst beating of any human ship during the battle, but it was still operational. "Captain," reported Engineering Officer Tae-Young Park, "we've lost main power to turrets 7 through 12. Life support is functioning at 40%. The armor on our port side has been completely destroyed." Captain Shin nodded calmly. "Can we still fight?" "Yes, ma'am. 4 turrets are still operational and our engines are at full power." "Then we can still fight," Captain Shin said. "That's all that matters." The Sovereign's mission was not over. Intelligence reports indicated that 3 separate alien fleets were retreating from human space, but they were regrouping near the Vega system. If they were allowed to escape and rebuild, they could return with even more ships. Admiral Park had given Captain Shin a choice: return to Earth for repairs or pursue the retreating aliens. Captain Shin had chosen to pursue. "All hands, this is the captain," she announced over the ship's communication system. "We're going after the retreating alien fleets. Our ship is damaged, but we're still the most powerful warship in this part of space. We're going to make sure these aliens understand that attacking humanity was the worst mistake they ever made." The Thai Sovereign caught up with the first retreating fleet near Vega Prime. 60 alien ships, mostly damaged survivors from the battle at Earth, had stopped to make repairs and coordinate with other fleeing forces. When they detected the approaching human ship, panic spread through the alien formation. These were survivors who had seen what human weapons could do. They knew that even a single human battleship was a threat to their entire fleet. "Human ship, this is Fleet Commander Kaltan of the Mordoon Collective," came the transmission. "We are withdrawing from human space as requested. We do not wish to fight." Captain Shin's response was broadcast on all frequencies. "You came to our home to destroy us. You brought 10,000 ships to kill every human in the galaxy. Now you want mercy? You should have thought about mercy before you started this war." The Sovereign opened fire with its remaining weapons. Even damaged, the human battleship was devastatingly effective. Its rail cannons punched through alien ships like they were made of paper. Its plasma torpedoes created chain reactions that destroyed multiple vessels at once. The alien fleet tried to fight back, concentrating their fire on the Sovereign. Energy beams and plasma bolts struck the human ship from all directions. The Sovereign's remaining armor began to buckle under the assault. "Captain," called out Tactical Officer Minjun Lee, "we're taking critical damage. Another hit like that could breach our main reactor." Captain Shin studied the tactical display. Her ship was outnumbered 60-1. By any rational calculation, she should withdraw. But Captain Shin was not thinking rationally. She was thinking like a human at war. "Set collision course for the alien flagship," she ordered. "All power to engines. If we're going down, we're taking them with us." The bridge crew looked at their captain in shock. Using a battleship as a guided missile was not standard military doctrine for any species in the galaxy, but it was exactly the kind of tactic that made humans so terrifying to their enemies. "Ma'am," Engineering Officer Park said quietly, "are you sure about this?" "I'm sure," Captain Shin replied. "Signal the fleet. Tell them the Sovereign sends her regards." The UES Sovereign accelerated toward the alien flagship at maximum speed. Its remaining weapons continued firing, destroying smaller ships in its path. The aliens realized what was happening and tried desperately to stop the human ship, but their weapons could not penetrate the Sovereign's remaining armor quickly enough. The collision was visible from 3 star systems away. The Sovereign struck the alien flagship at nearly 20% of light speed. Both ships were instantly vaporized in a flash of pure energy that outshone the system's star for several seconds. The psychological impact on the surviving alien ships was complete and immediate. They had just watched a human captain sacrifice herself and her entire crew to destroy one enemy ship. The message was clear. Humans would rather die than accept defeat. The remaining alien ships scattered in all directions, abandoning any thought of regrouping or continuing the fight. Their only goal now was to reach the safety of their homeworlds and pray that humans would not follow them. News of the Sovereign's sacrifice spread even faster than news of the original victory. Across the galaxy, alien species began to understand that they were not just fighting a militarily superior enemy. They were fighting a species that approached war with a fanaticism that bordered on religious devotion. On the Jacques T. homeworld, Hive Queen Zithara received reports from the scattered survivors of her fleet. The reports were almost identical. Human ships were faster, stronger, and more heavily armed than expected. Human crews fought with a determination that defied rational explanation. But the most disturbing reports came from the psychological evaluation teams. Alien crews who had survived encounters with human ships showed signs of severe trauma. Many refused to serve on warships ever again. Some claimed that humans fought like their gods themselves were watching. "These humans are not like other species," Zithara said to her council. "They do not fight for territory or resources. They do not seek to minimize casualties or preserve their ships. They fight as if war is a sacred duty." Intelligence Officer Veltar, one of the few survivors of the original intelligence mission, nodded in agreement. "Hive Queen, our analysis suggests that humans view warfare as an extension of their survival instinct. They do not fight to win battles. They fight to ensure their species continues to exist." "What do you recommend?" Zithara asked. "Immediate negotiation for peace terms," Veltar replied. "The alternative is the extinction of every species that opposes them." Meanwhile, Captain Hyunwoo Kim, now promoted to Admiral, was accepting the surrender of 3 entire alien fleets without firing a shot. The ships came to him broadcasting surrender signals and begging for mercy. "Admiral," said Communications. "Officer Da-Yoon Lee, the Sectar Empire is offering to withdraw all military forces from the border regions. They're also offering tribute payments and trade agreements." Admiral Kim nodded. "Tell them we don't want tribute. We want peace. And we want them to understand that if they ever threaten humanity again, there won't be any survivors to negotiate with next time." The surrendering alien crews looked at the human ships with a mixture of fear and awe. These were the vessels that had destroyed the greatest fleet in galactic history. These were the ships crewed by beings who would ram their enemies rather than accept defeat. But what impressed the aliens most was human restraint. Despite having the power to destroy the surrendering fleets, the humans accepted their surrender and treated their crews with dignity. This combination of overwhelming force and unexpected mercy created a legend that would spread throughout the galaxy. Human battleships were not just weapons of war. They were symbols of a species that could not be conquered, could not be intimidated, and could not be destroyed. They represented humanity's place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as a force that demanded respect. The galaxy was learning that humans were not just militarily superior. They were something entirely new, a species that combined the fury of war with the wisdom of peace. And that combination made them the most powerful force in known space. The age of human dominance had begun. Built on the sacrifice of heroes like Captain Hei-Wan Shin and the courage of crews who refused to yield even when faced with impossible odds. The legendary battleship fleet of Earth had become more than ships and weapons. It had become the foundation of a new galactic order. The galactic hegemony dissolved 3 months after the Battle of Earth. It did not end with a formal treaty or negotiated surrender. It simply fell apart as member species abandoned the alliance to make separate peace agreements with humanity. The Sectar Empire was the first to break ranks. Emperor Thexgul, father of the commander who had lost so many ships to human forces, sent a delegation to Earth carrying ancient ceremonial weapons as symbols of surrender. "We offer these ancestral blades to the warriors of Earth, the Sectar," Ambassador said to Admiral Park. "In our culture, this represents acknowledgement of superior strength and request for honorable peace." Admiral Park accepted the weapons with dignity, but her response surprised the ambassador. "We don't want submission," she said. "We want trade partners. Your people are skilled engineers. Our people need better life support systems for long-range exploration. Perhaps we can help each other." The Sectar delegation returned home with trade agreements instead of conquest demands. The news spread quickly. Humans were not interested in ruling the galaxy. They wanted to be part of it. The Velnari Consortium was next. Their crystalline ships arrived at the edge of human space, broadcasting mathematical equations that represented peaceful intentions in their culture. The Velnari were master traders and had calculated that cooperation with humanity would be more profitable than continued warfare. Representative Colvin met with human negotiators on the neutral space station, Harmony Point. "Our projections indicate that human military technology could revolutionize galactic commerce," Colvin said. "Your cargo ships could carry twice the volume at half the cost of our current vessels." Captain Jin-Ho Choi, now serving as humanity's chief military liaison, smiled. "We're willing to share civilian technology in exchange for access to your trading networks, but we keep our weapons technology. Some things are not for sale." The negotiations took weeks, but the result was a comprehensive trade agreement that benefited both species. The Velnari got access to human engineering expertise. Humans got access to markets across the galaxy. One by one, the other hegemony species followed the same pattern. The Morden Collective offered their advanced medical technology in exchange for protection from raiders. The Korth Federation requested human assistance in defending their border worlds from hostile neighbors. The Kelvani Trade Union wanted joint exploration rights in unmapped sectors. But the most dramatic surrender came from the Jakti Collective. Hive Queen Zithara herself traveled to Earth aboard an unarmed ship, accompanied only by a small diplomatic escort. Admiral Park met the Hive Queen in the same command center where she had planned humanity's defense. Zithara was an impressive, Figure standing 3 meters tall with 4 arms and a chitinous exoskeleton that reflected light in rainbow patterns. Admiral Park, Zithara said through a translation device. I come to offer the surrender of the Jakti Collective. We acknowledge the superiority of human military forces and request terms for peace. What are you prepared to offer? Admiral Park asked. Anything you require, Zithara replied. Tribute, territory, hostages. Our fleet commanders report that fighting humans is like fighting natural disasters. You cannot negotiate with a hurricane or bargain with an earthquake. Admiral Park was quiet for a moment, considering her response. Around her, human officers waited to hear what demands their admiral would make of the species that had led the alliance against Earth. We want an explanation, Admiral Park said finally. Why did you attack us? What did humanity do to threaten the Jakti Collective? Zithara's antennae twitched in what humans had learned was a sign of confusion. You want an explanation, not territory or resources. We want to understand why this war was necessary, Admiral Park replied. Our species coexisted peacefully for 5 years before the hegemony issued their ultimatum. What changed? The Hive Queen consulted with her advisors through rapid chemical communications that smelled like flowers and metal. Finally, she turned back to Admiral Park. Your expansion was too rapid, Zithara explained. Your colonies were too well defended. Your ships were too heavily armed. By galactic law, new species should remain weak and dependent for their first century in space. You violated this natural order. And this natural order, Admiral Park said slowly, who decided on it? The hegemony established these laws to maintain galactic stability, Zithara replied. Strong species prey upon weak species. By keeping new species weak, we prevent unnecessary conflicts. Admiral Park nodded thoughtfully. I see. And what happens to species that refuse to remain weak? They are discouraged, Zithara said. Economic pressure, diplomatic isolation, occasional military intervention. Most species accept their proper place in the galactic hierarchy. But not humans. No, not humans. Zithara's compound eyes focused on Admiral Park. Your species is unique. You build weapons like you expect to use them. You train soldiers like you expect to fight wars. Most species build defenses to avoid conflict. You build weapons to win conflicts. Admiral Park stood and walked to the large view screen showing Earth and the human fleet. Hundreds of battleships floated in space, around humanity's home world, silent monuments to human determination. The Jakti Collective is free to return to its territory, Admiral Park said. We have no interest in ruling your worlds or controlling your people. But the old galactic order is finished. Humanity will not accept rules that keep us weak, and we will not allow other species to be kept weak either. She turned back to face the Hive Queen. Any species that wants to grow strong enough to defend itself will have our support. Any species that tries to keep others weak will have our opposition. That is the new order. Zithara's antennae twitched again. You would help our enemies become stronger? That is illogical. That is human, Admiral Park replied. We don't stay safe by keeping others weak. We stay safe by being stronger than anyone who might threaten us, and by making sure our friends are strong enough to defend themselves. The meeting ended with an agreement that shocked the galaxy. The Jakti Collective would not only receive peace terms, but would be offered human military advisors to help improve their defensive capabilities. In exchange, they would provide intelligence about other hostile species that might threaten the new galactic order. News of these negotiations spread throughout known space. The pattern was consistent. Humans were not interested in conquest or dominance. They wanted partners, not subjects. They offered strength instead of demanding weakness. Captain Hyunwoo Kim, now commanding the patrol fleet that maintained peace in the former hegemony territories, received reports from across the galaxy. Former enemies were requesting human assistance with everything from pirate raids to natural disasters. Species that had never communicated with each other were now trading through human-mediated agreements. "Admiral," Captain Kim reported to Admiral Park during their weekly briefing, "the Rigel sector is requesting a permanent human garrison. They're worried about raids from the Outer Rim pirates." "Approved," Admiral Park replied, "but make it clear that we're not occupying their space. We're providing security services at their request." "Yes, ma'am." Also, the Centauri Trade Council wants to establish a joint exploration fleet. They're offering a 50-50 split on any discoveries. "That sounds reasonable. What else?" Captain Kim smiled. "The Vegan Republic is asking if we can teach them how to build better weapons. They're tired of being raided by their neighbors." Admiral Park laughed. "Schedule a training exchange. Send some of our engineers to work with their military designers. And Kim?" "Yes, Admiral?" "Make sure they understand that the weapons are for defense only. We're not in the business of starting new wars." The galaxy was changing. The old system of strong species dominating weak ones was being replaced by something unprecedented. A galactic community where strength was shared rather than hoarded. Human battleships had become symbols of this new order. They were not conquerors, vessels, but protectors' ships, ensuring that the galaxy's future would be built on cooperation rather than domination. The reckoning had come, and humanity had chosen to remake the galaxy rather than simply rule it. 5 years after the Battle of Earth, Captain Sung-Ho Yu stood on the bridge of the UES Guardian, the newest and most advanced battleship in the human fleet. Through the view screen, he watched a convoy of merchant ships from 6 different species traveling safely through what had once been a war zone. "Captain," reported Navigation Officer Soo-Jin Han, "the convoy is requesting escort through the Nebula Passage. There have been reports of pirate activity in that sector." Captain Yu nodded. "Signal the convoy that will accompany them, and send a message to the Vegan patrol fleet. Tell them we're entering their territory on escort duty." The Guardian moved into formation with the merchant convoy, its massive bulk dwarfing even the largest cargo ships. As they traveled, Captain Yu reflected on how much the galaxy had changed since humanity's first contact with the galactic hegemony. The trade routes that were once dominated by a few powerful species were now open to anyone with goods to sell and the courage to travel. Human battleships patrolled these routes, ensuring that merchants could travel safely regardless of their species or the strength of their home governments. On the Sectar home world, Emperor Thexgul met with his military advisors to discuss the latest reports from the border regions. The reports were all positive. Trade was flourishing. Pirate raids had decreased to almost nothing, and the Sectar military was stronger than it had ever been thanks to human training and technology sharing. "Your Majesty," said General Colhex, "our border scouts report that the Corvan marauders are planning raids against our outer colonies. Should we request human assistance?" Emperor Thexagul considered the question. 5 years ago, the Sectar Empire would have been forced to either pay tribute to the Corvan marauders or watch their colonies burn. Now they had options. Contact Captain Minseo Kang, the Emperor decided. Her wolf pack should be able to discourage the Corvans without significant bloodshed. Captain Kang received the request while her ships were resupplying at the human naval base near Proxima Centauri. The base had been built on the site where Captain Tae Min Jung had fought his legendary battle against impossible odds, a memorial. To the crew of the UES Defiant stood in the center of the base, reminding everyone who passed it of the price of freedom. All ships. This is Wolfpack 7 actual, Captain Kang transmitted to her squadron. We have a mission. The Corvan Marauders are threatening sectar colonies. We're going to explain to them why that's a bad idea. The response from the other ships was immediate and enthusiastic. Human crews had discovered that they enjoyed their role as galactic peacekeepers. It gave them a sense of purpose and allowed them to use their skills for something other than pure destruction. Meanwhile, on the Jokti homeworld, Hive Queen Zithara was addressing a gathering of young Jokti who were preparing for military service. The speech she gave would have been unthinkable 5 years earlier. You will serve in a galaxy where strength is respected but not feared, she told the young warriors. You will work alongside humans, the most powerful military force in known space, and you will learn from them. Not just their tactics and technology, but their philosophy. One young Jokti raised a claw. Hive Queen, what is the human philosophy of war? They fight only when necessary, Zithara replied. But when they fight to win completely and permanently. They do not seek to dominate their enemies. They seek to eliminate the causes of conflict. In the Outer Rim territories, stories about human battleships had taken on an almost mythical quality. Children of dozens of different species grew up hearing tales of the Iron Fleet of Terra that had humbled the greatest military alliance in galactic history. On the crystalline world of Velnar Prime, young Velnari students learned about the Battle of Earth in their history classes. Their teacher, an elderly crystal being named Shotel, had lived through the war and remembered the fear that had gripped the galaxy when the hegemony fleet was destroyed. The humans could have conquered us all, Shotel explained to her students. Their fleet was unstoppable, their technology superior, their determination absolute. Instead, they chose to become our protectors and partners. One student pulsed, with curiosity colors. Teacher, why did they make that choice? Because, Shotel replied, humans understand something that took the rest of us centuries to learn. True strength comes not from the power to destroy, but from the wisdom to know when destruction is necessary and when it is not. Admiral Sojin Park, now retired from active duty, visited the memorial wall at the Terran Naval Academy. The wall listed the names of every human who had died defending Earth and humanity's future among the stars. At the top of the list was Captain Haewon Shin and the crew of the UES Sovereign. The inscription below the names read, "They stood between Earth and annihilation, and they did not break." A young cadet approached Admiral Park as she stood before the memorial. Admiral, my grandfather served on the UES Indomitable during the war. He told me that you saved the human race. Admiral Park smiled at the young woman. I didn't save the human race, cadet. The human race saved itself. Every person who refused to surrender, every crew that kept fighting when their ship was damaged, every captain who chose duty over safety, they are the ones who earned humanity's place in the galaxy. The cadet nodded respectfully. Yes, ma'am. I want to serve like they did. Then remember this, Admiral Park said. Our strength comes not from our weapons or our ships, but from our willingness to stand up for what we believe is right. The galaxy respects us because we proved that some things are worth fighting for. As Admiral Park left the memorial, she thought about the reports that had been coming in from the deepest regions of space. Long-range sensors had detected massive energy signatures moving in the void between galaxies. Something was out there, something ancient and powerful, and it was taking notice of the young species that had reshaped galactic civilization. The Void Harbingers, as the xenoarchaeologists called them, had been sleeping for millions of years. But the energy signatures from humanity's battles with the galactic hegemony had apparently awakened something that had been dormant since before any current galactic species had evolved. Admiral Park knew that humanity's greatest test might still be ahead. The galactic hegemony had been formidable, but they were young and familiar. The Void Harbingers were old beyond imagination and completely unknown, but she also knew that humanity was no longer alone. The galaxy that had once threatened to destroy them was now filled with allies and partners. The human battleship fleet that had started as Earth's last desperate defense had become the foundation of a new galactic order built on cooperation and mutual strength. Captain Sung-Ho Yu completed his escort mission and returned to patrol duties. As the Guardian moved through space, its sensors detected no threats, no conflicts, no signs of the chaos that had once plagued this region of the galaxy. The legend of Earth's battleship fleet lived on, not just in the stories told to children, but in the peaceful trade routes, the thriving colonies, and the cooperation between species that had once been enemies. Humanity had come to the stars as explorers and become legends as warriors. But their greatest achievement was not the battles they had won or the enemies they had defeated. Their greatest achievement was the galaxy they had helped create, a place where strength served justice, where power protected the weak, and where the future belonged to those brave enough to reach for it. The Iron Fleet of Terra sailed on, guardian of the peace they had fought so hard to win, ready for whatever challenges the vast universe might bring. In the depths of space, ancient powers stirred, but humanity faced the future without fear. They had learned the most important lesson of all. Legends are not born from the battles you fight, but from the world you leave behind when the fighting is done.